Hello, Preservation New Jersey community. My name is Emily Manz. I'm the executive director. Usually at our annual meeting, we would do a live tour somewhere in New Jersey. And today, of course, we're still dealing with coronavirus, so we are doing a virtual tour. I thought it would be interesting to see one of our previous 10 most endangered historic sites and what's happening now. The Krueger-Scott Mansion behind me was a 2011 10 most site. That is now becoming a Makerhood, which we'll learn more about in just a moment. I came here a couple months ago to see the site, but did not get to stay for very long. So today we'll be taking a longer tour, going behind the scenes with Erin Bush, who is the community manager here at Makerhoods, and hopefully having a really great time. So let's get started. All right, we're following Erin Bush inside. Just entered the space. Erin, would you mind introducing yourself? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Hi, I'm Erin Bush. I'm the Director of Community here at Newark Makerhoods. Welcome to the Krueger-Scott Mansion. Okay. So these are some original wood pieces, and I'm pretty sure that they're being prepped for Rashidi of In Days of Old in Hillside. He's doing all of our wood restoration here in the mansion. Also, you can see these pieces, these larger pieces, are all being prepped for him to be restored to their original glory.
Wow.
The way we'll structure this tour is we will talk first about the history of the building using our original 2011 10 most listing. Then we'll go live for the turret climb. And then on the way down, we'll talk a little bit about the renovation and the process and what Makerhoods is. The quintessentially ornate Victorian-era Krueger-Scott Mansion sits above downtown Newark on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The 26-room mansion was built between 1887 and 1889 by Gottfried Krueger, a German immigrant turned wealthy beer baron. At that time, it was the largest home in Newark. In 1925, the Krueger family moved out of Newark, and their mansion became the headquarters of the Scottish Rite, a Masonic organization. The Scottish Rite owned the house for 30 years. The last private owner of the Krueger-Scott Mansion was Louise Scott, a South Carolina-born, self-made entrepreneur who worked as a domestic during the day and attended beauty school at night to get her start. She was a dynamic businesswoman, and she established a successful chain of beauty salons in Newark. She is believed to be Newark's first African-American female millionaire. Ms. Scott purchased the home in 1959 and maintained it both as her residence and as the location of her Scott College of Beauty Culture. The house later became the Scott Cultural and Civic Center and hosted a variety of community-focused events. In 1982, the city acquired the home, since which time the property has remained vacant. During this time, the property entered a very challenging state, and Preservation New Jersey added it to our 10 most endangered places list in 2011. Now, Newark Makerhoods is bringing together a supportive community of local makers, creatives, entrepreneurs, and residents. Their project involves the rehabilitation of the Krueger-Scott Mansion and new construction. Makerhoods shares that they are interested in reinvigorating the space with the previous owner's entrepreneurial spirit through co-working, office space, event space, workshops, and community-centric events. Behind the mansion, new construction will include 66 mixed-income apartments, 16 maker shops, a greenhouse, a demonstration and commercial kitchen, a courtyard, and event space. With all those future uses in mind, we'll head to the third floor where Makerhoods will actually have their offices in the Krueger-Scott Mansion. And Erin will also share with us some history of one of the rooms that's very important on the third floor.
Had an original space where there was a stage. There were a few steps leading up to it. There are some original photos of it, I believe, with the Historic Society, and we also have some recent photos before it was dismantled. But this area will be duplicated downstairs in our basement area, where we will have a performance area, and the performance area will also be flexible, where the seating will be able to be taken out, so it can be used as a speakeasy, it can be used as a small theater, just to suit all of the community needs.
Now, despite some trepidation, Erin and I decided to climb even higher and found the entrance to the fourth floor, which at this point is up the smaller set of stairs that we're climbing now and brings us to a very large open room. This, however, is not quite yet the turret. That's where we're headed next. Right across this room from the third floor, we're back down to the third floor, is an entranceway that brings you to the turret. After some brief discussion on whether we should go to the top, we have decided to, and we begin our climb.
Like the ginger steps.
Now this is where the staircase gets very, very tricky.
Wow, look at that view outside.
It's an amazing view of here.
All right, so we found our way. We're headed up to the turret. Hold it on very tightly. This is not for the faint of heart, folks. At all. Okay, so you can see where we are. All right.
You at least have to come up and get the view.
Okay.
You don't have to actually step outside.
I'm not. Erin says I don't have to step outside. I
You
said,
don't have to step
do not
outside.
worry. I'm just gonna barely get up on the pedestal here.
Yeah, they swing around.
So, in my defense, when you're up in the turret, you're actually very high. It's the highest part of the mansion for sure, but you're also again on what was once called High Street, the street that literally runs above the downtown. Now, you can thank Erin for stepping out on the ledge, which she assured me is secure, to get some footage of downtown Newark. You can see stretching down towards the north end of Martin Luther King Boulevard. You see St. James Amie across the street. You can even see the New York City skyline and a little bit of the Lincoln Park area. Now, on the way down, I had the presence of mind to take a little footage of the second landing. There is a landing on the in between your journey from the base of the turret to the top, and there's a lot of structural work that's being done. So now we're going to talk on the way down about some of the renovations that are happening and some of the groups that they've employed to come in and support with this renovation. The mansion is said to have been inspired by the Baroque castles of Mr. Kruger's native Baden, Germany, evidence of which can be seen in the intricate porch, the 6 elaborate chimneys, and most notably the soaring turret we just climbed. Extensive terracotta, sandstone, and cast iron trim, ornate cornices, and a picturesque profile exemplify the house's high Victorian style. Their equally impressive extant interior features ornate plasterwork, wood trim and wainscoting, and parquet floors. The mansion was built to truly be a symbol of Mr. Kruger's arrival. It was the most expensive house ever built in Newark at the time, and it boasted the initials GK in the sandstone portico and entry tile floor. The Krueger-Scott Mansion is listed on the state and national registers of historic places. Makerhoods partnered with 2 different architects for this project. With their experience in working with historic buildings, HMR Architects, also a building industry network, FP&J, worked on creating the rehabilitation plans for the mansion. Garrison Architects designed the plans for the new construction building, which is located behind the mansion, and created a number of renderings that you can see on the Makerhoods website. The day I dropped by to film was relatively quiet on site, but quite literally right before we left the mansion, we ran into David Smith of Specialty Plaster, and he told us a little bit about his process.
So we're going to do miles and miles of colored plaster. So if you look over here, the colored plaster, this is from 1880, and it's got what would be similar to 100 grit sandpaper. It's a rough texture. What that means is the color, the brown, never fades even after 130 years, and the stencils that are 130 years old never peel. So it lasts forever. The paint and wallpaper on top came off.
What's coming off.
So we're gonna do, again, colored plaster with this rougher surface, and as much of the stencils as possible we're gonna recreate. You know, if you look,
It's everywhere.
all the stairwells, all the corridor.
Different one? This
Yes.
is a different pattern, but still the same
Yes.
Right.
technique.
So in 1880,
This was done by hand, correct?
yes, in 1880, the fashion was stencils and wallpapers. This ceiling in here was all beautiful stencils and wallpaper. And then in the 1920s, right over the top of it, they added all this ornament. So we're gonna restore all the newer plaster ornament.
Wow.
So this room will once again look spectacular.
Now, do you think that they installed this plastic on top in an effort to maintain it? Were they replacing it? Were they
No, well, the
upgrading
idea
it?
was,
Or was it fashionable?
it was fashionable.
Okay.
So in 1888, you're 50 years old, you're rich, you make a state-of-the-art house. Now 30 years later, when you're 80, before you die, you again want to make a fashion statement. So you remodel. And then the government tells you you're a brewer and it's prohibition, you're now out of business. So then you sell your mansion while you still can.